Thank you very much, Jack, for joining me here today. Jack was one of the contributors to our book, Together Apart, and he actually contributed the last chapter to the book, which is all about the importance of developing a common identity. So thank you, Jack, for joining me. My first question for you would be, you're talking quite a bit about us versus them dynamic in your chapter. And I wonder if you can say a bit more on how that is relevant in determining the COVID-19 response.
Yeah, one of the important things to remember about human beings is that we evolved as social animals. And as social animals, we developed a sense of who's a member of our own group and who's not a member of our group or who's a member of a different group. So the in-group is those people with whom we identify, we feel secure, we trust. The family is sort of the prototype of what an in-group is. It's a sense of connection to people. Because we're a member of a group, the in-group gives us feelings of safety and protection. The out-group is a source of threat. That threat may be realistic, but may also be related to concerns about infection, disease. So for example, one of the arguments that people use to create the exclusion of immigrants is that immigrants carry disease with them and therefore will affect the in-group. So COVID really taps into two basic elements of human nature. One is that we're social and we divide people between in-groups and out-groups. And the second of all is we see the out-group as a threat, including with disease.
Okay, so why is it then that the development of a common identity is so essential to combat the spread of COVID-19?
Well, one of the things about this idea of who's an in-group member and who's an out-group member is it's not fixed in people's minds. That I can think of people in Canada, for example, I'm in the United States, as an out-group because they're from a different country, or I can think of them as part of North America, and now they're suddenly an in-group member. And when you think about somebody now as an in-group member, you trust them more, you have more empathy, you care about them. And one of the things with COVID is that many of the things that we do to protect against the spread of COVID has a kind of altruistic aspect of it. I wear a mask in part to protect me, but also to protect other people. So I'm going to be more likely to engage in these kinds of communal behaviors that will benefit other people if I think of them as a member of my own group versus a member of a different group. And so it allows me to make the kind of sacrifices that are so important in stopping the spread of COVID because I now care about people, they're more human, I have more empathy, and we're all in it together, as you would say.
Yeah. One of my questions then, though, is, okay, so if we develop a common identity, then we can overcome that sort of us-them dynamic that is so unhelpful. So that's understood. But one of the issues then is, why do we see then, if I look at the news, if I look around me, that it is so incredibly hard at this stage to develop that sense of common identity? What is it that stands in the way of that?
Yeah, I'll just make the observation that insecurity and threat does not bring out the best of human nature. And we're living in a time of uncertainty, insecurity, things that we've never experienced before. So when we feel insecure, we tend to want to affiliate and be close to and protect those people who we see as most similar to us. So we have this tendency to come together in a way that pulls us apart. And that gets exaggerated through politics. For example, we can talk about COVID-19 in the United States. The president frequently refers to it as the China virus, which just reinforces the idea that it is a threat from the outside. And that threat from the outside leads us to want to be very protective of those people who we care about, which is the in-group. So it becomes really difficult to get that flexibility to see us as all in it together when you feel under threat and you feel uncertain.
Okay, so you're talking about bad leadership here and not helping to develop that common identity. What would good leadership look like to develop that? That's a hard question, I know, but what would be your
Well,
thoughts on that?
I don't think it's that complicated of a question.
Okay.
You know, I really don't, because the reality is, in a global society where people fly from one country to another country, that we have exchanges where we depend upon each other for all sorts of food chains and other kind of manufacturing chains, that we're fundamentally interdependent today. And so that's the reality. The reality is not that we're separate. The reality is that we are interconnected in so many fundamental ways, and that we have a bond as human beings that is really essential to who we are. So leadership could frame this as, you can't solve the COVID problem in one country. You have to solve it globally.
Yeah, yeah.
Are interconnected. We have connections with others that are so intimate and so important and so fundamental. So the only way we can overcome COVID is together. It was coordinated action and caring about one another. And that's the reality of the situation.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a great way to end this. Thanks for your contribution, Jack.
Well, thank you.